Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for showing up, and I want to thank everyone for the invitation to come speak with you guys today. It's a subject that is near and dear to my heart, near and dear to the hearts of a lot of people here in Wisconsin and across the country. Unfortunately, we are under attack, as Connie had said before, and it kind of makes me think about some of the words that we use in this type of atmosphere that we're in right now. Some of the words that I hear are foot soldier, I hear war, I hear war room, I hear attack, I hear onslaught, I hear front lines, and I hear ground zero all the time. So all of these words clearly illustrate that we are definitely at war with this faction that's coming against us. I also want to thank Jan Rodolfo. She's been a huge, huge part of our activism in Madison and in Wisconsin, so I definitely want to thank her. I want to thank Pilar Shivo as well from National Nurses United. She's been here quite a bit and sacrificing a lot of their personal time to help us in this war that we're fighting. I want to thank SEIU 10 to 1 for inviting us to come speak today. Among everybody else that was there, I wish I had a list of everyone, but unfortunately I don't. I also wanted to say, I can see California from my house. So I'm actually pretty comfortable being here. And as I have to say, as a Dead Kennedys fan, California is Morales. You guys can like that. Part of what I wanted to talk about is bouncing a little bit off of what Connie had mentioned earlier. And I also wanted to talk about the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence, and how we can elevate the causes and the fights that we're fighting right now up to that level. And I think that it's finally time for that. When this thing first started, we started off with fighting for our collective bargaining rights and these attacks against the unions. And as Jan so eloquently put it, the leadership was far behind. And Richard Trumka, who is the leader of the AFL-CIO, also mentioned that the rank and file are far ahead of us on this one. And that's absolutely right, and it's still right to today. I can't count how many AFL meetings that I've gone to, both for the state and for the nation, where they're talking mainly, or they're talking about fighting for collective bargaining rights, or they're talking about the recall effort, or they're talking about the Supreme Court race, which are all great and they're all important. But I think there's a much bigger picture here, and it's something that needs to really be pushed forward. In as much as I talked about the words, and Connie mentioned several times in her statement about war, and this is a war of the corporations against working people and against the middle class. And what I want to do is kind of elevate that beyond just unionism, which I'm very proud to be a union member, but I think that we have an idealistic view of what the unions can be. I don't think that we're there right now. And I think that we have a really awesome opportunity here as union members to really take a look in the mirror. And what I'm actually asking my leadership to do is to take a hard look in the mirror and say, what have we been doing right over all these years? What have we been doing wrong over all these years? And how can we improve on that? I would have to agree again with Jan when she's talking about the type of unionism that we've gone through of late. And I think one of the downfalls of unionism over the last several decades is the dues checkoff. With the dues checkoff, you have this opportunity to have the unions remove themselves from their membership and have management take over that facilitation of the dues checkoff. Before that, unions had to go and speak to their members firsthand and in person at their jobs and at union meetings, and it actually prompted people to come to union meetings a lot more often and become a lot more active, which is something else that needs to be readily said. I also feel like I need to apologize a little bit for the state of Wisconsin for inflicting people like Scott Walker and Paul Ryan on the rest of the nation there. I really don't know what to say about those boys. I know we have a lot better people than that can represent our state and represent what we stand for here in Wisconsin. So I have to throw out a little bit of an apology there. I also have to add to it that in as much as I consider myself to be a labor leader, a labor movement leader here in Wisconsin and across the nation, I am one tiny little puzzle piece to this massive puzzle that continues to grow every single day. For every coalition meeting that I take the opportunity to visit, I find new and more people that are willing and able to step up and do something. And it brings forward the big three questions that I think we touched a little bit on earlier. Number one, who are the leaders? And in that, these people are desperately looking towards their leadership, their upper leadership, for answers. And that's a lot of what they really want. They just want information. They want to know where we're going next and what is our message. And those are the other 2 points. What is the collective message here? What are we really looking for? And a lot of what I've heard from people, whether it's We Are Wisconsin, which is one of the signs that you can see behind me here, or people from individual unions, what is our collective message and what is our end game? What do we really want here? And of course, what is next? As the weeks and unfortunately now months have gone by, people are looking for what is the next thing? What do we do next in order to further this movement? And I know there's some ugly words, or some that the leadership might consider rather to be ugly words, and I use them all the time and very proudly. Number one is revolution. Revolution is exactly where we are right now, and it's something that needs to absolutely happen. And I have several quotes that I'd like to use later on to kind of back that up. But what I mean by that is not necessarily me getting angry and throwing a chair through a window, but moreover, actually taking a hard look at our unions, taking a hard look at our government, both state and wide, and saying, what's wrong here? Why is this not working? Fix that and make it better. So we're going to have to, it's going to need to be something of these people that are coming against us, millionaires and billionaires and interest groups. They are out to get us. And the way that they play the game is win. They don't play to accept the less damage they possibly can, like a lot of our leadership tend to do. I think we did it earlier when she made our unions here in Wisconsin did was, okay, 12.5% cut on this, we'll take the 5.5% cut on that, we'll go ahead and just give it to you. Where I come from, in the negotiating classes that I took, and the negotiations that I've been, that's not what you do. And hear it. That's really where negotiating teams that said that the leadership had never gone to them and talked to them about conceding to those cuts.
That's right.
Again, no concessions and no cuts, which is something that I was on board with as soon as Jan and Pilar came into town with that. We're done with concessions. It's time to start saying. Clear as day, and it's to have the opportunity to speak with you guys. The lovely Sarah Palin was in the audience. Yeah. People here, we probably had close to 3,000 or 4,000. The number probably will escalate beyond that. They had a huge sound system. They had as soon as she said that, I didn't prove any type of point, but they were there actually to agitate. If we would break out of what I consider a Madisonian way, and the Madison, and something that I've preached from day one is we've won that by staying together in solidarity, and I believe that it's time to move into the next of what we're doing. The second stage we'll share with you right now is the lady Rudy Fox, who's disabled. She has stage 4 cancer. Stayed in the Capitol with us to take in these women on and further their race. And now she has cancer. She's on Badger Care. If these changes go to this budget, she'll lose her Badger Care. Now, if it's Badger Care, she can continue with her treatments. But if the move, there's a pretty story that's a real person. Draconian cuts is a perfect example for what they're trying to pull on us here. I'm seeing a lot of people that believe in her philosophy, and her philosophy believes that are poor and destitute, disenfranchised parasites. So we're all parasites, apparently, follow or die in their factory to further a huge fight, many decades beyond my lifetime, and they've all said that what we're talking about the elderly, it didn't matter what walk of life you came from. Standing in this crowd of that big show of 150 people, shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand. I saw tiny little babies' fists. I saw elderly fists in the air. 63, 64-year-old doing the exact same thing that we have here in the history of the United States. We all have the exact same stand up for it. And I say, next steps are a rally stage, we have a story stage, and now it's time for education and organization. The hard part. We were being shut out of the Capitol. The only entrance was at one point. And this is when they decided to split the bill and quote-unquote take the non-fiscal parts out of the bill and just vote on Democrats were still out of state. This put us into an hour, 1,000 people there, and within an hour, 7,000 people there. Myself and my wife, we stood in the doorway at the entrance because the door shut. They had locks, and at 6 o'clock to express ourselves, ways to not allow them to shut. They had sent a gentleman from the younger guy, and we're not going to shut these doors. And he said, do this, I have to do this, got us out of the way. Leaned into him and got broke down his face, and he kind of shuffled off and went down the road. He came back with 5 other people, Capitol Police, and their leader came to me and says, well, we have to shut the door. And I kind of fibbed a little bit, and I told him that I had Mark Pocan, which is my assemblyman, giving me a call here in just a moment. He was going room so that we could have hearings. And if you have hearings inside the Capitol, it must remain open to the public. And he's still trying to get me to get out of the door. I said, if you could just give me 5 minutes. And again, he kept looking. You could tell oftentimes when someone's not doing something right, they look down at the ground or they won't look you. They're trying to sneak under there and catch his eye and look at it. Will you do me the personal favor? Will you please do me the personal favor of just leaving the doors open 5 more minutes? And I think I got to it. These guys, they don't want to this particular part of the job. So he actually ended up giving us another 45 minutes, which is amazing. We were able to get 4,000 people into the particular day. It was still an unfortunate day because as we agreed, they really shoved that building. But we were in Capitol. We've had a lot of great Capitol and Keep Our House, and it is a standing symbol of work. But one of the messages that we're trying to show everybody is holding onto the Capitol isn't the be-all and end-all. What we're trying to do here is something bigger, and again, beyond workers' rights. I truly believe that these are human rights that we're talking about. And I think when the document here is from the internationalcommission.org and taking a look at it, and it talks about how around the world, and let me say this, the legislature of said that collective bargaining are human rights and have this as law from this point on. This is something that we can actually work and achieve. You know, as earlier in the Declaration, when we were trying to get away from King George, we were searching in the pursuit of happiness ways combat during this day. We're going to have to go to the Constitution of the United States at the beginning of it. You know, we hold ourselves to self-evident and so forth and so on. But as you get down to the tail end of the document, it's actually a reprimand to George of all the things that to this country. And you start going through these reprimands and you realize, wow, Walker's doing this to us. He's doing that to us. He's doing to us. And it's stripping and expanded just beyond Wisconsin. Our sisters in other states are suffering just as poorly as we are with this type of attack, and that's really being devastated right now. They've been beat down so, whether it's the economic damage, automakers, or any management thing that say that this city is under emergency. So I'm going to remove the council and I'm going to put entity in here to run. I consider it to be a dictatorship. Again, something that against the Constitution, but not having dictators in states. So that's where I think my claim. Michigan, and they've gone ahead and put this emergency manager. And I have to say, as soon as I saw that when I was in the office, outraged. And I've been outraged through a particular movement for quite some time. Started this thing, or when it first started, everybody says it started on February. For me, it actually started on February 11th. I get a call from the Wisconsin AFL, started to break down this attack that was getting ready to come down the pike. And from that, on to AFL left and right. And I had to be about either the recall effort, Judge Poppenberg, or having people sign up for Working America, or how can they volunteer for this or that. And I actually had to say, hey, that's all, what else are we doing? And they kind of flippantly turned to me and said, Eric, what are you asking us? And I said, let's talk about something. Talk about it. I said, well, I want to talk about a general strike.
Yes.
Because the first thing you see in their dollar sign. And this is I saw come across, they're afraid of being sued. And, you know, I've been telling some of my brothers that are a little more headstrong about jump on board with this movement. And I said, what does it take somebody hitting a gun in your face to let you know you are under attack? You know, does it take somebody putting a knife to your chest and saying, I'm going to stab you in the heart now, for you to realize that these people are actually coming after you in this way? And until we think this way, I think that we're really going to be able to grasp that. The fear of litigation, and then you have your rank and file maybe come online and say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my house or my car and things like that. Those are all legitimate fears, absolutely. As one of the protesters in Egypt so many months ago, it was when we removed that fear from our hearts that we knew we had won. And that's what it really takes. You know, I can't say how proud I am of the longshoremen on April 4th, 75. Again, a lot of it's about to be able to do that. And for, if I recall correctly, the teachers going after Bank of America and some of these other entities, and the kids here with the TAA going after M&I Bank. And some of these legislators, I went to a conference in Washington, D.C. just a couple of weeks ago, standing in front of thousands of building trades guys talking about how these banks and these corporations are coming after you, and they're coming after your pensions, and they're coming after your kids' college funds, and they do not care whether you live or die or survive or not. They want it all, and they are fighting to win. They're playing this game to win. guess what, boys and girls, we're going to have to start playing this game to win as well. We can't be pitter-pattering around anymore. This is a revolution, this is a war, and we need to be treating it as such.